mastery of this new kind of drunkenness. Only the young had so short a time before them that they could not afford to wait. They tried, however, to cram themselves back into the old round holes, and mutilated their unaccountably squared personalities in the process. Time eased the fit for some. For some who had sent their minds home ahead of their bodies, the adjustment was neither long nor unwelcome, though it could not be without pain. To some, the whole of Comerford seemed now only a green round hole, not big enough to hold them. They despised it both for what had changed in it and for what had remained the same, because they had lived too long enclosed in the changes and the monotonies of their own natures, and could no longer distinguish great from small. If day-to-day life could halt at such a time, and give all the lost people time to get their bearings, things would be easier. But it went on steadily, or rather unsteadily, all the time, full of all the old snags and spiteful with new ones. Colliers' sons went back to the pits and found themselves working side by side with Ukrainians, Poles, Czechs, Lithuanians, Letts, whose wartime alliance was just falling apart into 100 minor incompatibilities. And soon came even the few screened Germans out of their captivity to fester among their ex-enemies without being able to reunite them. Nice-looking, stolid young men, hard workers, a good type. But they did not always remember to keep the old Heil Hitler off their tongues. And the leftward-inclined youngster with Welsh blood in his veins and a brother dead in some stalag or other was liable to notice these things. Maybe he picked a fight. Maybe some older and cooler minds broke it up. Maybe he just got his room at the hostel rifled and his books shredded. Or maybe some evening in the dark, pepper found its way into his eyes. No one knew how. No connection with the war, of course. The war was over. Meantime, the topsoil of 2 small fields and an undulation of rough pasture and furze was scoured off and piled aside in new mountain ridges, and the grabs lifted out the stony innards of Comerford earth to lay bare the 180,000 or so tons of shallow coal which the experts said was to be found underneath. As if the earth cried, instant outcry broke out over the issue, one faction crying havoc for the 2 fields, a smaller and less vociferous group welcoming the levelling of the furze mounds and the tidying of the ground long ago mauled by shallow dog-hole mining. But the small army of weathered men swarming over the site, performing prodigious surgical operations with uncouth red and yellow instruments, took no notice of either party in the controversy. They assembled about them every conceivable variety of weatherproof and weatherproof ex-army clothing, making their largeness larger still under leather jerkins and duffel coats. And so armoured, they busied themselves in making hills and valleys change places, the straight crooked, and the plain places rough. But when they moved on, they left a level dark plain, and though inimical voices clamoured prophetically of soil made barren for a lifetime, and drainage difficulties had to be stabbed at twice after an initial failure, in 1 year grass was growing delicately over the whole great scar. Poor grass beside that which formerly grew on the 2 small fields, but beautiful, improbable grass over what used to be furze, bramble, and naked clay. And from the returned young men themselves, wise and foolish, willing and unwilling soldiers in their time, proceeded outward through their families and their friends, shuddering cycles of unrest, like the tremors before earthquake. They came, trailing clouds of tattered and tired glory, which they could neither repair nor shake off. The unimaginative were the luckiest, or those whose supposedly adventurous army career had been spent largely among the mud and boredom and potatoes. But some came haunted by the things their own hands had done and their own bodies endured, growths from which no manner